You'll see them on games in the Conference USA, Mountain West this year. And tell me about this show you host on. It's produced by the Big 12. It's called Inside the 12. That's an interesting new development into your media career.
Yeah, Pete Souza and I will, we're talking a little bit of everything. It's obviously all Big 12 focused, but I think one of the things we'll focus on all season is the depth at the quarterback position in that conference. And I think this is something you'll see as a theme in college football as a whole. For as down as college football was last year for quarterback depth, I think this year you see a little bit of a rebound, and that's across, again, all of college football. But in the Big 12 especially, that's where we will focus. I think it may be top down the deepest league in terms of quarterback talent, and not just for quarterbacks in their play in college, but there's real pro prospects. One just right up the road in Waco, and Sawyer Robertson, that I think has a chance to be really special. But we'll bring that each week, and it'll be a deep dive into all things Big 12. First show we'll record in a couple weeks as everybody's kind of wrapping up camp. And, week 0, Kansas State and Iowa State are going across the pond and playing in Ireland. And we'll break down that game. But again, inside the 12, really looking forward to getting that going.
Yeah, the battle of the plains there, playing in Dublin, an important game. That's a conference game,
no doubt.
And K-State has one of those, because we mentioned that game to start with, because that's the first game of the year that is really important on 0 week. So if it's 32 days to that, it's 25 days away. And Avery Johnson, quarterback for Kansas State. A lot of folks, I know you were at the Manning Passing Academy. That's a guy that a quarterback of that caliber maybe hasn't been manning the ship at K-State since a guy like Michael Bishop back in the day, way back in the day. Yeah. He's a really talented player.
Got a chance we had their bowl game in Arizona last year at the Cheez-It Bowl, and we had that for ESPN Radio. Got a chance to see him run around, and when he came out of college, there was so much made about him as an athlete. But when you see him throw in person, I mean, there's real zip on his ball when he releases the football. I think some of the mistakes that you saw in his career early were trying to make too much happen, and that happens all the time with young quarterbacks, right? But I think you'll see a step forward for Avery Johnson, and as an athlete, I mean, it's been on display his entire career to this point, and that will continue. I think he's one of the top 3 athletes at the quarterback spot, just in terms of how dynamic he is when he takes off. And so, yeah, I think between him and Rocco Beck, there's some serious talent in this week 0. In my opinion, of all these week 0 games that they feature, and it's kind of the game for week 0, I think this is the best one we've had, at least in the last, 5-6 years that they've been doing this.
Yeah, well, it's a conference game.
Yeah.
I'm sure Chris Kleiman and Matt Campbell are kind of like, man, I mean, August 23rd conference game. That's a little bit early. But that's where we're at right now. So Taylor McHargue saying that the Big 12 maybe the deepest for quarterbacks. We know in the SEC, I was at SEC Media Days a couple weeks ago, and that was really the theme, that it's a quarterback-driven league right now. Arch Manning obviously is going to get all the headlines, and we'll talk about Texas at the bottom of the hour. I want your thoughts on the Longhorns as they begin practice today. But Garrett Nussmeier, who you saw at the Manning Academy, he's the man in the LSU ship, and just talented quarterbacks across the board. Drew Aller at Penn State. We've got Cade Klubnik over at Clemson. But the Big 12, you're right about that. I mean, last year Shedeur Sanders was the headline grabber, but Avery Johnson, you mentioned Rocco Beck, you've got Sawyer. Tell me about Sawyer Robertson at Baylor. I mean, Jake Spavital's their offensive coordinator, Dave Aranda, coaching the defense there. But that's a guy, a big 6'5" kid that I know the NFL's paying attention to what's going on with that Baylor offense. And Sawyer Robertson, he's a good-looking quarterback.
Well, and he wasn't the starter going into the season. I mean, it took over, and Dave Aranda, when it got to the midpoint of the season, it looked like that may be it for Coach Aranda. I mean, he was very much on the hot seat, and then the run that they went on down the stretch and the success that that team as a whole had, but especially Sawyer Robertson, I think that led them into some momentum in this offseason. And now, if you look at, and the people that I trust in mock draft projections and then over the next couple seasons, this is a guy that has the potential to be a high-round pick. Now, he's got to have that consistency again this year as a starter for a full season, but got a chance to see him in person, like you mentioned, at the Manning camp. He's a big kid. He has the pro prospect build, looks every bit of 6'3.5", 6'4", athletic build, and throws the ball well. And also just how he carries himself. It's somebody that pleasure to talk with and somebody you want to pull for. But Sam Leavitt also, I mean, that's a guy that busted on the scene last year that I don't think anybody expected. Arizona State was picked it was either last or second to last in the media poll a year ago in the Big 12, and they go win the league. And a lot of that was driven by Sam Leavitt, and there is so much of that roster back. Obviously, Cam Scadaboo has moved on, but the depth in the running back room overall is probably better this year than it was a year ago, where last year it was really just featuring Cam Scadaboo. But Sam Leavitt is back. The majority of the offensive line is back. Most of the defense is back as well. And then from the quarterback spot, like you mentioned, you can kind of go down the list. Even Baron Morton at Texas Tech, with all the money that they spent in the transfer portal coming in, bringing in pieces around him, I think there's high expectations in Lubbock as well. So if you're a fan of the Big 12, I know there's in this part of the country, it's all a lot of focus on Arch Manning and the SEC, but still those ties to the Big 12, and a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, went to Baylor and Tech and TCU. I think there's going to be some really good quarterback play in that league this year.
Yeah, well, and again, you mentioned Tech, and Baron Morton, a lot of pressure. We're talking about players with pressure on them. Baron Morton to stay healthy, but there was a story written recently by CBS Sports about somebody went out to West Texas and documented just how much money's been spent on that roster and how much NFL talent they built there at Texas Tech. I saw where our friend Matt Miller, the NFL draft scout with ESPN now, had a tweet. He retweeted the story that the guy wrote about Texas Tech and said the amount of talent Texas Tech has accumulated is flat out impressive. NFL scouts will be in Lubbock early and often this year. So they're the betting favorite. But can they keep a quarterback healthy? Joey McGuire with a lot of pressure. It's one of those, man, we've invested. We've done it. It worked for softball. Remember, they brought in the high-dollar softball pitcher, and they played for the national title and lost to Texas. They want similar. They want to be in the college football playoff. But you mentioned Arizona State, who I like a lot, because seeing them up close against Texas, Sam Leavitt, man, that guy, the Michigan State transfer, he's from the West Coast up there in Oregon, really a good player. And, the teams that bring back the most returning production in all of college football include Clemson, Penn State's in the top 5, and then Arizona State. Everybody talked about Scadaboo, as you mentioned, and they had some upperclassmen. But Kenny Dillingham has a chance to have a really good team there in the Big 12. So, but the guy to really watch at Texas Tech is David Bailey, the defensive end that came in. They paid well for him from Stanford. That's a really good player. Quentin Joyner at running back was a USC guy. He's from Manor here in Central Texas. They got a bunch of guys that people are going to watch, and talent wins. Talent wins. I mean, it's a Jimmy's and Joe's game still. Joey McGuire's a good coach, but you got to keep the quarterback upright, and you like Baron Morton.
I love Baron Morton, and exactly what you said is right. I mean, this modern era, you see it a lot now with group of 5 schools, the academies when they're freshmen and sophomores before they make their commitment, players that go have a ton of success at anything that's group of 5. You see them make that jump because of the money that's on the table now with NIL. And Texas Tech, they have clearly made a commitment that in all of athletics, not just, you mentioned softball, paying $1 million for a pitcher.
Yes.
They have made a commitment to fund athletics in a way that I think has turned a lot of heads, across college football, not just in Texas. But you're exactly right. Talent wins in all sports, but in college football especially. I think that's where you're seeing that divide continue to grow between the Power 4 schools and the Group of 5 schools, where the depth on some of these rosters, guys, it happens all the time. You see guys that go to a Power 4 school that came from a Group of 5 school, and they may just be a depth piece.
Yeah.
They may be in a backup role for their senior year, but they can't turn down $150,000, $200,000 for one season of playing college football. And it happens all the time now. And that's something that when we get on the road calling these games for CBS and we spend time with these staffs, that's one of the big gripes and concerns that we get a lot of the time from Group of 5 coaching staffs is how difficult it is to re-recruit your own roster. Because after they have maybe their player of the week or they have a good game, and all of a sudden their agent's reaching out midweek saying we need to start thinking about their deal already, and they're like, man, we're in the middle of the season. But if you don't, and you don't re-recruit your own roster, all of a sudden you look up and your top 5-6 guys, they've already jumped in the portal and they're taking a check to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it is why the House settlement's in place, and there's supposed to be more checks and balances and salary caps, and presidential executive orders are coming out from the White House trying to keep it as even a playing field as possible. But in this day and age, that's going to be a challenge. But you talked about David Bailiff and G.J. Kinney down at Texas State. I've talked to G.J. too, and I asked him that question. He said, we just go below us. I mean, we're going to raid the groups under us. I mean, that's just, we got to compete, and you can't complain about it. You can complain about it, but you can still have to put a team on the field and try to be as good as you can be. I like that attitude from GJ, but you're right. But Texas Tech's real good. Arizona State. What do you make of Deion Sanders? I mean, yesterday's press conference was pretty powerful. And, everyone knew that he was dealing with a health issue. I think a lot of people just assumed it was more of his blood clotting issue that he dealt with. But, man, this was a pretty serious situation. A bladder cancer, a tumor on his bladder. I had to have it removed. They had to rebuild his bladder with a new bladder with parts of his intestines. I mean, it's a huge procedure. But he says thought yesterday maybe he may step aside. But he says he's going to make it happen. He's going to coach this team and coach Colorado. So you'll be covering that in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think like everybody, happy that he's still on the sidelines and that it sounds like from what the doctor said yesterday, they had cleared him from cancer and the surgery was a success. The way the announcement that they were having this press conference going into it, I think we all thought maybe the worst, that he was going to announce either a retirement or that there was something that had not been solved or cured. And so just as for his health, obviously we're all thrilled that he's in a better place now. I hope he stays on the sidelines. I think he's great for college football. I think he's a different perspective, and the way that he coaches and approaches not just everything from the media availability to how his open door policy on how honest he is about how he's evaluating his own roster. And when he got there and he just said, look, we're getting rid of almost all of these guys and we're going to bring in an entire new roster because what we have in place right now we're not going to win games with. I think that rubbed people a lot the wrong way in a lot of ways, but he was honest and he is authentically him. I think he's, again, great for the sport. For Colorado this season, I think the quarterback battle is going to be fascinating. Caden Salter, Julian Lewis. Caden Salter I got to see a bunch when he was at Liberty 2 years ago. Unbelievable player. When they went on their New Year's Six bowl run and they were undefeated, I thought he was one of the top quarterbacks really in the country, not just at the group of 5 level. I thought last year he regressed some. I saw him twice a year ago, and the aggressiveness that we had seen 2 years ago had left him. So I'm curious to see how that battle shakes out. And then for Colorado as a whole, the depth has definitely improved over the last 3 seasons. But for Colorado, man, I think it's all going to come down to how solid is your quarterback play between Caden Salter and Julian Lewis. And but again, just thrilled that Coach Prime will still be on the sidelines.
Before we get to a timeout, Taylor McHargue is with us, co-hosting in this hour, talking college football, CBS Sports college football analyst and the host of The 12, covering the Big 12. Listen to Deion. He says one of the reasons he's staying in is he wants to be send the message to get yourself checked. He wouldn't have found this if he weren't in for his routine checkup. Here's Deion Sanders yesterday.
Please get yourself checked out, especially African-American men. We don't like going to the doctors. We don't like nothing to do with a doctor. You know that. So I'm not just talking to the brothers. I'm talking to my Caucasian brothers, my Hispanic brothers, my Asian brothers, my everybody, and my sisters. And that's all, y'all. Get checked out.
Yep, get checked out. And we just lost Ryan Sandberg, the great all-time second baseman with the Chicago Cubs, to cancer. And Deion Sanders saying if I hadn't gotten that routine check, we'd probably be having a different conversation if I waited a little longer because they had it removed. It was cancerous, and but they removed it, and he's going to coach. But he says I'm going to be wearing Depends. I depend on Depends. I'm going to be wearing diapers. He's got to know that. And he also was trying to be a poster person for the stigma of people that are dealing with that. I mean, I'm going to pee my pants sometimes. That's just the way that's going to go. He was talking about he's got a grandbaby, and he's like, yeah, we're kind of comparing who's peeing the most at night. It was funny. It was uplifting. He was really emotional throughout, as you can imagine. But he's going to coach the Colorado Buffaloes this year in the Big 12.